beneath the o'er the land he plods along and sings a little song.
I grew up in Louisiana, where I went to public and parochial schools. In elementary school, I was taught by nuns. I had wonderful teachers who worked hard and dedicated their lives to teaching reluctant learners like me. Eric Ligon, will you please stop talking, they'd say. And Eric Ligon, will you turn around in your seat? And my favorite, Eric Ligon, you are capable of so much more. I always wondered, how did they know if I was capable of so much more if I had actually never done so much more? Perhaps it didn't get any better from me. Perhaps this was the best it was. I was pretty darn sure that was the case. I liked all of my teachers except for Sister Bridget, my 7th and 8th grade English teacher. She was the bane of my existence. I never knew a meaner, more unyielding, nasty woman. She drove us onward, harder and harder, no excuses, no fun, only sentence diagramming and grammar and misery and pain. I went on to high school and then to college in Louisiana where I studied graphic design. Don't you want to be a doctor, my parents would ask, or a dentist? No, I said firmly, I want to be a graphic designer. My parents said, well, whatever that is, you probably should go to a really great school. I only applied to art schools in New York City. Now, I had never been further north than Fayetteville, Arkansas, when I got off the plane in New York to attend Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. Pratt was a really fine school in a really dangerous neighborhood. My mom didn't want me to stay there, but I did. I received a great education, and I made lifelong friends. In a philosophy course, my professor asked if anyone knew what a gerund was. My right hand shot up in the air, and then I looked at it in horror. I don't know what a gerund is. And then he called on me. A gerund is a verb form ending in ing which functions as a noun, such as boating is fun. That was exactly the definition Sister Bridget taught me in 7th grade, word for word. My first professional job was at Working Woman magazine as an art assistant. There's nothing lower on the totem pole in a magazine than an art assistant, not even the cleaning crew. Me and 63 women, that was an education. I learned a valuable lesson: never take your boss a problem without a possible solution. I worked as a freelance designer in New York. At Weight Watchers magazine, I found a grammatical problem in the text, and I took it to the executive editor. She looked at me a long time and said, designers don't know grammar. I told her about my education at Sister Bridget's cruel hands. The managing editor of the magazine challenged me to a sentence diagram off, and I won. I worked at Andy Warhol's Interview magazine as a production artist for a year. Andy used to stand behind my chair and watch me do paste up. He never spoke to me. I never spoke to him. He just stared. Sister Bridget would have prayed for his lost soul and for his hair. My last job in New York was as the associate art director for the New York Daily News Sunday magazine. I loved language and words and design and image and the salary that came with joining the New York Newspaper Publishing Guild. Publication design was the perfect place for me. I felt happy and at home. One Sunday morning, I was riding the subway when I saw a man reading the magazine. He flipped through it and stopped at a spread I had designed. I was sure he'd stop to read that spread because of my fine design, and I felt very proud. As the subway pulled into the next station, the doors opened. He tossed the paper onto the floor. He got off, and I was stunned. I make trash. That's what I do. I make trash. This is a true crisis for me. It was time to do something that was more meaningful with my life than designing pretty trash, even if that meant leaving New York, where I loved being. My first design professor told me that he thought I'd make a good professor. I called to talk to him about it, and I applied to graduate school. After leaving New York, I spent a couple of days in my hometown before grad program began. While there, I drove past St. Vincent's Convent. I drove a block, and then, possessed by who knows what, I turned around and I pulled into the convent parking lot. I was going to tell Sister Bridget how much I hated her. I marched into the convent and up to the nun at the front desk and asked if Sister Bridget was available for a visitor. The nun said very sweetly, "Please have a seat in the parlor and I'll go get her for you." So I sat there waiting, trying to decide what I wanted to tell her. How could you have been so mean? Then she walked into the room. She looked at me, smiled, and instantly said, "Eric Ligon." It had been 15 years since I'd seen her, and she knew me by name immediately. We caught up the intervening years briefly, and then I said, I came here today to tell you how much I hated you. Her face lit up, and she just beamed. Then she said, oh, I loved the boys. You did? I said. We had no idea. We thought you were so mean. Oh, I always wanted to be easy on them, but in the long run, they won't thank you for it. Wow. Set your expectations high, demand the best from your students, or they won't thank you for it. Now, I don't believe in divine providence, but this made me wonder. I'd gone to tell a woman who dedicated her life to teaching kids like me how much I hated her, and she offered me the best advice I'd ever heard about teaching. Just days before, I was to teach my first classes as a teaching fellow. What a tremendous lesson. As a professor, I've lived by that advice my entire teaching career. In fact, I attribute whatever success I found as a professor to that advice. I've always been known as one who expected a great deal from his students. I don't suffer excuses very well, and I expect my students to succeed. My first semester teaching, I had a student who was performing poorly in my class. She never seemed to have done the work I thought she was capable of doing. And I said to her, Mary, you are capable of so much more. Then I hurt myself. My teachers had instinctively known of what I was capable, and now I knew the same of my students. Sister Bridget changed my life. She taught me more than I knew I'd learned about English and grammar. She offered me a simple phrase that's been the central philosophy for my entire teaching career. I wish I'd gone back to tell her how much I appreciated her wisdom, but perhaps by sharing it with you here today, her gift will grow. What a fine gift it's been. Thank you.